We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Chaos in Congress, a gag order for Trump, economic news, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. A small group of conservative Republicans pushed through a vote Tuesday to oust Representative Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. The first time in U.S. history, House members voted out the chamber's leader. 8 GOP hardliners, led by Representative Matt Gaetz, voted for the resolution to remove McCarthy, complaining that he worked with Democrats to pass a short-term spending measure to prevent a government shutdown over the weekend. Ironically, McCarthy's GOP critics also relied on Democrats to give him the boot in the 216 to 210 vote. Democrats had wrestled with how to vote. In the end, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries told his caucus not to save McCarthy, claiming he was unwilling to break from MAGA extremism, despite the fact that it was McCarthy's willingness to negotiate with Democrats that caused the vote. Republicans have stated that Gaetz may be expelled depending on the results of his ethics investigation. General Motors and Ford said they were laying off 500 more workers at 4 Midwestern plants due to the impact of the United Auto Workers strike, now in its third week. The UAW said it had presented GM with a new proposed contract, but the automaker said significant gaps remain. Ford is furloughing 330 workers at plants in Chicago and Lima, Ohio. GM is laying off 164 people at facilities in Ohio and Indiana. GM, Ford, and Chrysler's Stellantis last month laid off a total of about 3,000 employees. The UAW on Friday expanded its first simultaneous strike against Detroit's Big Three automakers to include another GM plant in Lansing, Michigan, and a Ford assembly plant in Chicago. New York Judge Arthur Engoron, who is presiding over Donald Trump's civil fraud trial, imposed a limited gag order on the former president Tuesday, ordering him to delete a social media post critical of the judge's law clerk. Hours earlier, Trump had posted a picture of Oregon's principal law clerk posing with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer during a public event. Trump has claimed the case is a political witch hunt pushed by New York's Democratic Attorney General Letitia James. Engoron warned everyone involved in the case they would face serious sanctions if they smear court personnel. Personal attacks on members of my court staff are unacceptable, not appropriate, and I will not tolerate them, he said. Meta has acknowledged that it used public posts on its Facebook and Instagram platforms to train its new artificial intelligence virtual assistant. Meta President of Global Affairs, Nick Clegg, said that the company used only public posts and stayed clear of both private posts that were shared with friends and family, as well as private messages to train the company's AI bot, according to a report from Reuters. We've tried to exclude data sets that have a heavy preponderance of personal information, Clegg said during the company's annual Connect conference, adding that the vast majority of the data used was already publicly available. U.S. federal officials on Tuesday announced criminal charges against 8 Chinese companies accused of supplying chemicals for illegal production of synthetic drugs, including fentanyl and methamphetamine. 12 executives also faced charges. This was the Biden administration's second major wave of indictments against companies in China for allegedly providing Mexican drug cartels with drug-making chemicals. The Finnish drugs are fueling a U.S. overdose epidemic that kills more than 100,000 people a year. Attorney General Merrick Garland said at a Justice Department news briefing that the global fentanyl supply chain, which ends with the deaths of Americans, often starts with chemical companies in China. Despite these indictments, few results are expected. Former ESPN star Sage Steele torched the ladies of The View during her appearance on Bill Maher's Club Random podcast. During their lengthy discussion, they went beyond Steele's wheelhouse of sports to tackle things like politics and culture war issues. Maher floated the idea that she should be the contrarian voice on the liberal ABC daytime talk show. "You should be on The View," Maher said on Sunday's podcast. "Hell no," Steele reacted. "I've been on The View and it didn't go so well, because you know what? At The View, they don't want your view. They only want theirs, and they're bullshit." Long-term interest rates surged Tuesday to the highest level since the subprime mortgage crisis of 2007, chipping away at hopes that the Federal Reserve's inflation-fighting campaign to raise rates won't trigger a recession. The yields on the 10-year Treasury note climbed 0.119 percentage points to 4.801%. Mortgage rates, which loosely follow Treasury yields, also rose. The average rate on the benchmark 30-year fixed mortgage climbed to 7.72% on Tuesday. The 30-year fixed rate started the year with a drop to about 6%, but rose steadily over the summer. Higher rates have hurt sales of new and existing homes by driving up monthly payments. U.S. job openings rose unexpectedly to 9.6 million in August, up from 8.9 million in July, the Labor Department reported Tuesday. Economists had expected vacancies to come in at 8.9 million again. The number of layoffs and people quitting remained essentially unchanged. It was the first increase in job openings in 3 months. The data indicated that the job market remained strong despite the Federal Reserve's aggressive campaign to raise interest rates to slow the economy and bring inflation down to its 2% target. "Yes, the job market is still retaining a lot of heat," said Nick Bunker, head of economic research at the Indeed Hiring Lab, "but it hasn't gone back on the boil." That's the raw naked truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.